Typically, this would have been a live recording, but because I am phasing out of live videos until at least 2026, I decided to make this a video. It's going to be a very personal video, and it's about healing the Black family, the Melanin Rich family. And I personally believe that if we began to heal the Melanin Rich family, our direct ancestors, then we can begin to collectively heal all of everything as a process. Everybody is not going to get there at the same time. You know, we weren't all born at the same time. We don't all transition this realm at the same time. So obviously, it's just not gonna happen for us all at the same time. But we can build a strong enough collective to model it for those, to model healing, to model the reunification of the family, of the tribe, not the nuclear family, but the tribe. You know, when there was many aunties, many uncles, many mothers, many fathers, and we all had our role. And, you know, some of us, we didn't even have labels that coincided with the binary. Like now, I like to use hybrid words like unctie or dama, which means daddy mama, or mafa, which means mother father, or brister, which means brother sister. You can see some of those words like brister being used in our communities. So the remnants of what we were is still there. When we signed up to become a part of this game, this American dream, when we consented to the dream by giving our energy to it, by giving our power to it, by voting for officials and representatives that don't represent all of us. We signed an unspoken, unwritten contract. We signed an energetic contract, you know, and a lot of us aren't ready to turn away from that investment. We are enjoying that investment, and many of us just don't have enough faith or belief within to think that turning away from it will change anything. Next week on Wednesday, I'm going to turn 48 years old. I am a deeply melanated queer person who was born in the South. I went through genital reconstructive surgery for the first time in 2014. I had a revision done last year in 2024 because I didn't feel that I had enough space. Anytime you do surgeries like that, I think that there are going to be complications, but you have to ask yourself, were you happier before? Because, you know, if you're not happy then, it's still a complication, right? It's complicated because you're not happy. So I don't regret having the procedure done, but I do resent living in a reality that caused me to feel uncomfortable in my body because we don't see each other energetically. We see each other physically. We look at each other with flesh eyes and not spiritualize. So I resent not being seen energetically and feeling pressured to make physical changes because we give our power to a religion that does not allow for us as human beings to see each other energetically. We are trained to look at things through our physical eyes. And in 2 weeks, I will be returning back to Louisiana to spend time with my cousin who is been battling with cancer for a long time. I do not work a 9 to 5 because there are a few spaces that I can function in without going into manic depression, because this reality for me is exhausting. The performance that is required to progress in this reality is diabolical. And so many of my siblings have been broken and severely damaged as a result of how this game is set up. And so working a 9 to 5 is not conducive to my survival. When I work in 9 to 5 settings, because of the conditioning of so many people around me, it is a toxic environment, and I often become physically ill, and my mental instability becomes unbearable to the point to where I feel like I am no longer wanting to exist physically on this plane. So I live off of benefits that I've gotten on and off since I was about 14, when I was diagnosed with having a gender identity disorder. Around 14, I was placed in a mental hospital, put in a straitjacket, and taken to a mental hospital and diagnosed with a gender identity disorder, which is odd because I come from male and female. I stayed in a womb for 9 months, and so my dominant connection was with my mother's, and for some reason, celebrating that and resting in that space makes something wrong with me. I'm expected to perform a certain way because I was born with a penis, and we're the only species on the planet that has these type of expectations. Every other species on the planet, they use the bathroom a certain way, they procreate a certain way, but there are no other expectations of them outside of, hey, if you have a penis, you put it inside. If you cock your leg up and pee if you're a dog. Like, it's not routines and roles and rituals associated with your genitalia. We're the only species on the planet that makes a production based off of just makes a production off of how we should show up based off of genitalia. We're the only species on the planet that does that. But anyway, I was diagnosed with gender identity disorder, and I started receiving benefits as a result of that. And I have worked jobs, and oftentimes, like I said, because of the programming of individuals around me, it's become a place where I always feel like I'm having to defend something or, for lack of a better term, be the devil's advocate and offer a difference of opinion, a different perspective. And it's exhausting. It's exhausting. And what I've learned about this reality is that people will step over you after you've given all you can to this system that was designed without you in mind. They will step over you, pack dirt in your face, and keep going. And I don't want to use the time that I have in this form, in this incarnation, to feed something that much that is responsible for my oppression. I understand that I have to render unto Caesar's what is Caesar's. I have to pay bills. I have to, if I want to eat, I have to buy food. These are things I understand I have to do. And oftentimes after I pay bills and buy food with the little bit of crumbs that I receive from the government that uses me for a lab rat, I don't have anything left, but I do my best to make my rounds and to show up for my family. I have family that I love in different parts of the country, and as I am able, I make my rounds because that is what's important to me. And some people say that family, that's an illusion, but I think that these are mirrors, and these are mirrors that we are blessed to have from our childhood, and I'm getting ready to look in a mirror in 2 weeks, and this mirror is bringing up a lot for me. I'm not going to not look in that mirror, because if I don't look in that mirror, I will feel like a coward. I will not be able to live with myself. When I was younger, I was about in my 20s, my grandmother, the one who raised me and adopted me, she was getting sick, and I wanted to come home and take care of her, and she wouldn't let me. She told me to leave. And now mature, older, I know it was because she knew I wouldn't have been able to look at her and watch her suffer and watch her deteriorate in that way. And so she was saving me. She was in her own way. She was trying to spare me. She wanted me to stay around a little longer because I loved her so much. I think being an empathic person, watching her deteriorate, I would have lost my will to continue because I already was very fragile with being attacked from being a queer person, from being a trans person, from being a Black person in the South. There, I had very limited knowledge and information about who I was historically. I didn't really know. And so I had little defense for myself. And so she was trying to preserve me in her own way. So she told me not to come home. But now I'm almost 48 years old, and it's happening again. And my cousin, who was like my first model of what I thought was the epitome of femininity. She had a Coke bottle shape, and she was a beautiful shape, beautiful skin, beautiful thick hair, and was a tomboy and just vibrant and just kind and loving, and she loves me so much that I can remember Um, when she first found out I was different, she said something, and she said, "Well, you're not supposed to be like that." And I think that was like the only thing that she ever said. But then after that, she never said anything, negative to me again. Like we were closer than I was to my biological siblings. Like she was like my sibling. I mean, like she used to be riding the bike and I would be on the handlebars. We climbed trees together. I remember the first time somebody tried to have sex with her. I walked in the room. I was like 2 years younger than her. I walked in the room and I stopped it and I was ready to fight. And he knew he wasn't going to be able to get her, so he left her alone because he knew he was going to have to beat me up. And when I was about to have, sex for the first time with a girl, she walked in the room and she stopped it. Now, just for the whole story, the first time that I was molested, I was molested by an older girl. So I know some of y'all will probably be thinking, oh, well, maybe if she would have let you do it, then you with me. So just to clear that up, no, I had already been molested by a female when I was 5. Um, but me and her just had this amazing bond. Like I used to do her hair, do her makeup. I used to get clothes for her. We wore the same size shoe. We still wear the same size shoe. So we used to trade shoes with each other. Like she was very popular, so I was popular by proximity to her. She was popular, so that made me popular because she was popular. Like I always had my own popularity, but it was a outcast popularity. But she kind of like, because people loved her and she was, binary, cisgendered, all those things, and so I was accepted because she was accepted. And it was a lot of people that felt uncomfortable with the fact that I had access to certain spaces because of her, and they were attracted to me and they couldn't understand their attraction. So a lot of times they wanted to be violent towards me. And I can remember one time this guy punched me in the neck because he was drunk and I think he was feeling something and he didn't like how it felt. And so, he felt like he had a point to prove. So he hit me and I defended myself and I threw some bricks and bottles at him and he was coming back to retaliate. And my cousin made one of the men out there who was attracted to her give me a ride home, because they were all overprotective of her. Then it was another time when this girl was bullying her, and I was just like, I'm just tired of everybody being jealous of her and, doing stuff to her. So I jumped on the girl and started fighting the girl. And she was my size. Like, it wasn't like it because, girls back in the South, so she was bigger than me, and I was already on hormones, so I didn't feel like it was an unfair fight. Girls fought males all the time and won. So, I save all of that. I felt like it was a fair fight. Anyway, I had got the best of her. And of course, because I was born male, a lot of men wanted to retaliate. So a whole bunch of dudes came out into the street and they was getting ready to jump me to defend, the female that I had fought over my cousin. And I was gonna go ahead and take my leg. And while I was standing there, my cousin jumps in front of me and uses her body as a shield to defend me against all of the licks that they were throwing. And to receive that type of love creates an endearing loyalty that I feel is missing in our community and missing amongst our people. But those are the memories that keep me going. Those are the memories that sustain me. So, this was before my cousin had any children. Her first 2 children that she had were boys. And when the first boy was born, I was about 20 years old, maybe about a year and a half in on taking legal hormones, because I had taken a few under the table, but taking legal hormones about a year and 6 months in. So I really was feeling like, tapped into my maternal, like I was, my breasts were growing. I was My breasts were growing. I was feeling like this softer side of myself, and just really, really in tune with that. And my cousin had been kind of like sheltered because, she started to develop very young, and she had body. I mean, body built like a stallion, you know. She have bodies that girls lay on she had a body that girls that women lay on a table to get. She had it naturally. Small waist, big butt, hips, big breasts. I mean, stuff that girls pay for. She had it naturally. And so her mom was always overprotective of her because she got pregnant at a young age. Her mom did. And so, they kind of sheltered her, kept her locked up. And so when she got a chance to get out and be grown, she was gone. My girl loves to party all the time. Very much the tease. And when she got pregnant, she didn't want to have that baby because they were judging. You got such a harsh judgment for getting pregnant out of wedlock. Like, I got embarrassed in front of the church for being gay, and my other cousin got embarrassed in front of the church for getting pregnant out of wedlock. And it hit her so hard that the baby was born stillborn. So my cousin didn't want to have that baby. She was trying to have an abortion, but she was too far along. So she ended up having the baby. Now, when she had the baby, like I said, she had been sheltered, so she wanted to go out. She was finally able to be outside. So it worked perfectly for me because I was like, I get to have a relationship with her children. I get to step in and be that village for her because I'm never going to experience carrying a child. I'm never going to experience, being a biological mother in this incarnation. So I get to have this connection through my cousin. So when she was gone, I was with the baby happily, never was complaining about it. Couldn't think of nothing better. It brought me so much joy to be that to her. But her boyfriend, really, he was mad because she was outside and he wanted her to be inside. He used my identity, how I showed up, as an excuse to create a problem. So he was coming to see her and she wasn't home. She was outside. And he saw me holding the baby, and he took the baby from me. And my cousin, when she came home, I was sitting on the couch crying in tears because he took the baby from me. And she walked around there and she beat on that door. And she took that baby back from him. And she said, don't you ever take my baby from my cousin. Because, and she was using male pronouns because this was like 20-something years ago. She was like, don't you ever take the baby from him. He would never do nothing to that baby. He would never harm that baby. How could you? Don't you ever do that again. Like, she let him have it. And she always defended me, but the one person that she wasn't able to defend me against was her mother, And that's how we're raised, to respect our elders, even when our elders are wrong, And my auntie had all of these reservations because she was deep into the church, even though the church was deeply misogynistic, and she expressed her troubles about that with me. Like, she talked with me on the phone about how she felt like the pastor didn't trust her to be able to speak or to be able to lead conversations, spiritual conversations, and how that bothered her. But, she remained loyal, which is something that I see in Virgo people in general, because my trans mother and my biological mother are both Virgos. And, Virgos tend to be loyal to misogyny to a fault, but anyway, and my auntie, she, her mother is a Virgo. So, she stuck by it. But, she expressed concerns to my cousin that, having the boys around me at such a young age might influence them in a way that was not gonna help them to evolve into these men, these righteous men of God. And, I got tired of, like, Nene didn't act funny with me. She didn't change on me. My cousin didn't change on me. She loved me. She was loyal to me. She was protective of me. But the wedge, her mom started reaching out for the babies more just to keep them from being around me. And I started to feel that wedge, and I ended up, leaving town, and the bond between me and my cousin weakened, and the gap grew wider and wider because of that. And, right before my auntie passed, her mother, she apologized. She said, she asked me, cause one time when I was at the house, both of the boys were like in their teens and they were calling me she. And when I left the house to go and get something from the store, when I came back, they wouldn't speak to me because they wasn't going to call me he, and she had made them feel uncomfortable calling me she. So they didn't know what to call me. So they just stopped talking to me altogether, just sabotaged the relationship completely. And and the bond has never been the same since. And me and her had words that day, because she said it's only one truth. And I said that's a lie from the pits of hell, and I cast it back into the sea of nothingness, because it's not only one truth. We're all having different experiences. And so it may be we may all come from one place, but truth can be seen a million different ways because we're all looking at it from different angles. And all of those angles are necessary to create the divine insight and eyesight. Amen, a woman. So all of those eyes, all of those angles are necessary to see the full picture. So before my auntie passed, she said, what do you want me to call you? And I was in my late 30s by this time. And I'll never forget, I told her, I said, it doesn't matter because I know who I am. I don't care what people who haven't taken the time to really see me with their spirit eye call me. Because if you look at me with your soul, if you looking at me with your spiritual eye, if you looking at me energetically, you're not finna sit up here and tell me all you see is a man. And that is why the spirit had been working with her. And she said, what do you want me to call you? Because as she got closer to that return, closer to her ascension, the spirit had been working with her. And that's what made her ask me, what do you, and she said, it's not my place to judge you. It is God's place. And I told her it really doesn't matter because I know who I am. But she apologized before she left here. But the damage had already been done. The wedge between us had already been created the way it was designed to play out in this reality, to divide the family, to allow the ones who were doing the most harm to stay in community as long as they could perform that role to the expectation of the status quo, to the gatekeepers, to the sheep herders, to the shepherds, all of those who were doing harm within the church, all of those who are doing harm within the school system, all of those are doing harm in those spaces in which, queer, deeply melanated or melanin rich people have been exiled from. And we were exiled into a space of pure toxicity. We were exiled into a place of pure debauchery, which is why many times our names and our reputations are synonymous with depravity and scrupulousness and unscrupulousness, because of the spaces that we were exiled to. There was no balance. There was no balance for the cis, for the straight, and there was no balance for the queer. And so what has been left in its pieces is brokenness. And the religious practices, the religion was designed to reinforce that. That's what the purpose of the religion has been, for the most part. Few people practice it in an authentic and pure, affirming way. But anyway, so now you know the story. And now you understand that soon I'm going to have to go and look in a mirror of myself, because she is a mirror. And I'm praying that she won't do what my grandmother did and try to preserve me by pushing me away. I pray that I'm strong enough not to run away. I pray that I'm strong enough to be disciplined and not to try to escape through doing things that are destructive to me. I pray that I'm able to be more stoic, but also compassionate. I pray that I can look at her and see her soul, and I don't just see her pain. I pray that we can heal and that our family can heal. Because I need this to continue this journey. I'm glad I shared that. I love y'all. Thank you for listening. And if you want to sow a seed of support, feel free to. My Cash App is down here for anyone who wants to donate. It's not going to be for no alcohol or no weed. Not even any food. But just, travel expenses. Because I'm have to do some moving around real soon. And I need to start preparing for that. And we live in a reality where it takes resources to do that. And I hate capitalism. But it's a real thing. We've made it a thing. So if you have a little extra and you could help me navigate that thing, I'd really appreciate it. I love you all. Thank you. Have a beautiful day. LelimLelur, love over money. Down but down that I say kua keep spinning and turning iangani iyanko kalukalo, which means I am a child of God goddess. And if I am, you know you are. Be blessed and take care. Later.